Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel, and in today's video we are going to be drafting this dartless corset with a yoke. I'm going to be showing you guys how I went about the cutting of what you see right now. So if this is something you're interested in, you definitely want to keep on watching, and if you're still yet to subscribe to this channel, don't forget to hit on the subscribe button and let us get started. So we're going to be starting with the front pattern, and I'm going to be taking this part here as our center front. So I'm going to start now by drawing a starting line across the upper part. So this is also going to serve as our shoulder line. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to take measurements downwards. So from shoulder, I'm going to measure down to our shoulder to bust point measurement, and I'm going to make a mark here. And then I'm going to mark her shoulder to under bust. I'm going to mark her shoulder to waist, and then lastly I'm going to mark her shoulder to hip. Again, you're going to mark shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist, and then shoulder to hip line. So once you're through with this, just go ahead and draw straight lines across all the points. So I'm going to label my lines. We have the shoulder line here. This is the bust line, followed by the under bust line, the waistline, and then lastly we have the hip line here. So now once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is you're going to come to this other side where I told you guys is going to be our center earlier, and I'm going to go ahead and go in by about 3 inches from the center for our neck width. So I'll mark 3 inches here, and I'm going to come down by another 3 inches for our neck depth. So I'm going to go ahead and join these together to give me a round neckline. After drawing out your neckline, you're going to measure from the center again half of your shoulder measurement. So for this person, half of the shoulder measurement is 7.5. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it here. Once you're done with this, you're going to come down from this point by 1 inch for your shoulder slope, as you can see, and then I'm going to connect a straight line from this shoulder slope point all the way to the top of my neckline like this. So from the shoulder slope, you're going to measure your armhole depth, which for this person is 7.5 inches. I'm going to mark it here, and I'm going to draw a straight line across this point that I marked. Now this line will become my chest line. Next, you're going to draw a straight line from your shoulder slope to meet this new chest line that you just drew out. So I'm just going to draw a straight line like this. Make sure it's a straight line, okay? So once you're through with this, the next thing we want to do is from the shoulder slope to the chest line, we're going to divide what we have here into 2 equal halves. As you can see, I just used my tape here, so I'll mark the midpoint here, and then I'm going to go in from that point by 1/2 inch. Now once you're through with this, you're going to come down to this chest line here, and you're going to divide the measurement you have around your bust by 4. So divide your bust measurement by 4 and use it to make a mark here. And once you're done, you're going to connect this point to meet the midpoint and then the shoulder slope. That's going to now give you your armhole curve. So I will do this midpoint and shoulder slope first, and then I will use my curve to connect from the chest line here to the midpoint that we had earlier. So just like this, since my curve was not able to do it once. So now I have my armhole curve here. So now once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is you're going to come to the bust line here, and you're going to go in by half of your nipple to nipple measurement, and then you will also come down to this hip line and mark the same half of your nipple to nipple measurement. So once you're through with this, just go ahead and connect both points together with a straight line, just like you see me doing like this. Now this is a dartless corset. Normally you would draw out your dart on this line, but we're not going to be doing that, okay, because this is going to be dartless. Okay, so now what we're going to do is on this waistline, you're going to mark your waist measurement divided by 4. So if you intend to snatch your waist, this is the time to do it. For example, for this particular client, her waist measurement is 34, and I want to snatch her waist. I want to reduce it by just 1 inch because she doesn't want it to be too tight, okay? So I would be using 33 instead of 34 for her. If I want to reduce 2 inches from her waist, that means I'll be using 32. Okay, so the amount of inches you want to reduce, this is where you will reduce it, and whatever you now want to use, you will now divide that number by 4. So for this client now, I divided 33 into 4, and that was what I used to mark here as her waist measurement. That means I've already removed the inches that I wanted to use to snatch it before even dividing it. Okay, so now once you're through with that, the next thing you're going to do is to come down to the hip line. Her hip measurement divided by 4, I'm just going to go ahead and mark it here, and then I'll connect it to the waistline just like you see me doing like this. Now for this waist, you don't want it to be looking too pointed like this, so you like to curve it out nicely like you see I've done here. It should look more like a curve than a V point. Okay, now once you're through with this, you're going to come to the bust line here, and you know that separation that you have between your two cups, we're going to try and get it here. So I'll just mark it. Let's mark it on the chest line. So I'll go in here by 1/2 inch, and on the other bust I'll go in here by 1/2 inch as well. So I'm just going to use a straight ruler to connect the both of them like this, just like you see me doing here. You can just make this area more visible, although we might not actually follow this chest line. We might go below the chest line later, but don't worry. Just note that this is going to be the separation between your two cups. Now that we're through with this, the next thing we want to do is to determine the cup. And we're going to be making the cup by ourselves, okay? So you will need the height of the cup, and that's how covered you want the corset to be. So for this client, for example, she wants it to be a bit well covered. So I'm going to go up from the chest line by 1.5 inch. And from there, I'm going to measure down to the under bust line. So what I have from that 1.5 inch above the chest line down to the under bust line is 7 inches. So this is going to be the height for this corset. So take note of that. Go ahead and measure yours as well, and then take note of that height. So now we're going to be making our cup. I'll be using this piece of paper here. So on this side here, I'll just go ahead and draw out a straight line. This part is going to be serving as our center front, okay? So take note of it. And then I'll just draw another straight line across this part here. This will serve as our under bust line, okay? So I'll just label this. This is the center front. This is the under bust line. Please take note of this, okay? So now once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is you want to determine the height. I told you guys to measure your height earlier. I remember that what I had was 7 inches. So from the under bust line up, I am going to mark that 7 inches, which is the height I want this corset to be. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw it across as well. Now, once you're through with this, remember I told you guys that this other side is the center front line. So from this center front line, go in by half of your nipple to nipple measurement. So from that line, my half of my nipple to nipple measurement is 4. And I'm just going to go ahead and use it to draw a straight line across this point like this. So use half of your nipple to nipple measurement to draw a straight line. Now once you're through with this, what I had as half of my nipple to nipple measurement was 4 inches. Go ahead and add 1 inch to it, okay? So I'm adding extra 1 inch to it, and that is 5 inches, and that is going to be what I use for the other side. So I just marked 5 inches here, as you can see. So now once you're through with this, I need to get my bust point line, and I can bring my pattern paper, and from the under bust on my pattern paper here, I'll just measure up to my bust point, and what I have is 3.5 inches. So from the under bust line here on this small paper, I will measure that 3.5 inches up, and from that point I will just draw a straight line across. I really hope you guys understand what I'm doing here. So now this is the under bust line, and now this is the bust line, and then this right here is, let's call it the chest line. So now once you're through with this, we're going to be taking all the darts, and we're going to be starting with the under bust line here. For this person, her bust is moderate. So on the under bust line here, I'm going to be going out on both sides by 1.25 inch. Now, if the person is not very busty, you can use 1 inch on both sides. And if the person is very busty, you can even do 1.5 inch on both sides, okay? But for this one, I'm using 1.25 inch on both sides. And once you're through with this, just go ahead and connect all the way to meet the bust point, just like you see me doing like this. So now once you're through with the under bust, you're going to come to the center front here. Remember, I told you guys this is the center and this is the side. So this center here, I am going to be taking 1 inch on both sides. So I'll do 1 inch here. Okay, I'll do 1 inch here, and then I'll do 1 inch here as well. And I'm going to connect it as well to meet the bust point. So now the next thing will be the side of the bust. So for this part, I'm going to be doing 3/4 of an inch up and down of this particular bust line. So I'll go up by 3/4 of an inch, which is 0.75. I'll mark it here, and then I'll do the same thing at the bottom part as well. And then I'm going to connect them to meet the bust point as well. Next, we're going to connect curves now to connect the under bust point to the point that we have below the bust line. Just watch what I'm doing and do exactly the same thing. So just use your curve to connect this side like this and do the exact same thing on the other side. Make sure that it is curving nicely, okay? So now once you're through with this, just use your marker to make arrows like this so that you indicate the 2 bottom pieces. And then on the upper piece, come down by 1 inch on the center front part. So I'll mark 1 inch here. And then you want to make sure that this middle still retains the 7 inches. It's still 7. And then on this side, I would just come down by 1/2 inch here, as you can see. And then I'm going to be connecting all these points to meet the middle. So from this 1/2 inch that we have on the side of our bust, we'll connect to that middle point, just like you see here, and then I'll connect to meet the center like this. So I'll just let this area look curvy instead of looking too pointy. Now on this side, you can come in by about 1/4 of an inch here, and come in here as well by about 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm just going to connect it back to the bottom here and connect it back to the bottom here like this. This is very simple. So this is pattern 1. This is pattern 3 and 2. So 1, 2, the part that goes towards the center is 2, and the one that goes towards the side is 3. Just make sure that you curve this area out nicely. And basically, we are done drafting out our cup, okay? We have cup part 1, 2, and 3. And I'm just going to go ahead now and cut out these pieces. Don't forget to make an arrow on the front piece as well, the number 1, so that you don't mistakenly turn it upside down when you're sewing on your pieces, okay? So once you're through with this, just go ahead and trim it out as well. And trust me, guys, you would have a perfect 3-part corset. And that is what I have here. See, these are the 3 pieces. I have my 1, 2, and 3. Always note that the part that is smaller goes towards the bust area, okay? So I went ahead to just trace these pattern pieces that I cut out together with you guys into another piece of pattern paper for the 2 different cups. So I'll be keeping one aside, and I want to use the other one to show you guys how to go about joining the pieces together to get our cup that we're going to be using to cut on the actual bodies. So this is very simple. I'm going to first start by taping the 2 bottom pieces together. So the 3 and 2, this is what they will look like. So you want to make sure that you don't mix them up. Make sure that they are well arranged even when you turn them to the wrong side. And once you've done that, just go ahead and tape them down nicely. Don't let one be on top of the other. Just let them be side by side, just like you see me doing like this. I'm just going to go ahead and tape it down nicely. Just watch what I'm doing. And once I'm done with the first 2 bottom pieces, I'm going to add the upper piece, which is number 1, and I'm just going to tape all 3 together to give me a perfect cup. You've been shattered, you've been broken down. Heart is beating, still won't make a sound. It feels like an angel straight from hell. So this is the cup, and you can see how it looks like. It actually sits perfectly, and it has enough space on the inside. So now what you're going to do is you're going to bring back your bodies, and you're going to be placing this cup from the under bust line, okay, from the under bust. So just arrange it nicely, and you can see, make sure that the cup itself is stopping on that separation line that we drew earlier. So I started from here, the separation line here, Okay, so I'm starting even from the bust line here, and then I'm just going to trace the cup all the way around. You have to be careful when you're doing it. Just trace it all the way around, and then you can go ahead and just trace the upper part as well. For the upper part, I just decided to make dots. I would trace it out afterwards. So now for the upper part, I'll just trace it out like this, as you can see, and then into this area like this. So this upper part is our yoke. Okay, so this is the bustier, the corset itself, and then the upper part is the yoke. This is the curved area of our corset, and basically this is it, guys. So now once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is to determine the length of your corset. You know your corset is not going to go all the way down to the hip line. That will be too long. Okay, so from my center here, I have decided to come up by about 1 inch, and on the side here I decided to come up by about 3 inches. So I'm just going to connect these two together with my curve to just give me a nice shape for the corset itself. Okay, so this is now the shape that I'm using for the front of this corset. So this is now the corset length. All right, so this is the shape I have gone for the front. So now once you're through with this, you can now draw out your boning lines. And when it comes to boning lines, you can just be very free with this. So I'm just going to use my ruler to just draw straight lines across. As you can see, I'm just bending the ruler. You can do anything here. You can measure if you want to. You can do it with freehand like I'm doing. You don't necessarily have to bother so much with this. All you just need to do is just create lines, as many as you want to have, and that's basically all for the boning lines. This you can label to make sure that you know the parts that are going towards the upper part: 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here we go for the front pattern, and this is what it looks like: a dartless corset. And if you transfer this on your fabric, you don't necessarily need to cut through all the boning lines that we have here. You can choose to cut them, but you can also choose not to cut them as well. It's even easier if you do not cut them. If you do not cut them, you just go ahead and sew straight forward. If you decide to cut the boning lines, it means that you will have to join them back again. Okay, I hope you guys understand. So with that being said, I'm just going ahead to cut out my pieces. I'm trimming out the yoke first, and I'm going to follow that with the rest of the body. So now this is the front pattern drafted out. Let's go ahead and draft out the back. So for the back pattern, I am going to be using the opposite direction, that's this part closest to me, as the center back, so that when we're done with everything, when we arrange our pieces, we'll have them aligned nicely. Okay, so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is to start by drawing out a starting line at the top of my pattern paper, just like we did on the front pattern. And once you're through with this, from the first line, which is the shoulder line, you're going to go ahead and take your measurement of your bust point, your waistline, and your hip line. So bust line, waistline, and hip line is what you will be taking on the back pattern. The back does not need the under bust line. Okay, so you will have the shoulder line, you will have the bust line, the waistline, and then the hip line. So now once you're through getting these lines, the next thing you want to do is from the center front of your pattern paper, you're going to go in by your neck width. I'm not going to be using a zipper allowance here because this corset is not going to be having a zipper, so we just take the measurements directly. So I went out with a neck width of 3 inches and I came down with a neck depth of 1.5 inches because this is the back pattern, and I'm going ahead to connect my neckline. Now, just like we did on the front pattern, I'm going to go in now from the center by half of my shoulder measurement, and I'm going to go ahead and mark it here. And from that point, I'll come down by 1 inch and connect it to the top of my neckline, which is going to give me the shoulder slope. And then after we are done with this, I'm going to measure down to my armhole depth from the shoulder slope, which is 7.5. I'm going to mark it here, and then from this point, I will draw a straight line across, which is going to now become our chest line. So we're basically doing what we did on the front patterns here. So now once you've gotten your chest line and you have connected your armhole depths like this, the next thing you want to do is on this chest line, you're going to go in by your bust measurement divided by 4, Okay, bust measurement divided by 4. I'm going to go ahead and mark it here. Now, this is the back pattern. You can decide to either draw the armhole the exact same way we did for the front pattern, which I do a lot of the time, or you can decide to just draw a curve to meet the already coming line. So that means you will not be going in by half of an inch on this back pattern. Going on in by half of an inch on the back pattern is not compulsory. Okay, so for this I didn't go in by half of an inch. I just connected the curve to meet the line that is already coming up, and this is what I had here. So once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is to come all the way to the waistline, and you're going to use the exact same waist measurement that you did in front. Remember, we are reducing our client's waist by 1 inch. So instead of 34, we are using 33 for her waist. So 33 divided by 4. I'm going to go ahead and mark it here on this waist area here. And then I will just connect it to meet the armhole area, just like you see me doing like this. So now once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is come down to the hip. For the client, the hip measurement divided by 4 is 11. So I'm going to go ahead and mark it here. And then I will connect it to the waist just exactly as we did on the front pattern. Once you're through with this, the next thing you want to do is you're going to connect the neckline for the back. Now you can decide to follow the armhole, or you can decide to come down a little bit. For me, I want to come down a little bit. So from the center here on the chest line, I came down by half of an inch. And I'm just going to connect that half of an inch into the armhole. You can see how I'm using my ruler, my curve, to just connect it nicely to connect this beautiful neckline here. So now the upper part is going to be the yoke area. Okay, so now let's work on the body part. All right, so just like we did on the front pattern, on the side here I'm going to come up by 3 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and make a mark here, and then I'll go up by 1 inch at the center part. Now I'm going to just connect a curve to connect these 2 points together. Now for this particular one, I decided to do something different from what I did before in front. So you can see how I'm placing my curve this time around. So I went in like this, and then from here I turned the curve to go in like this, and this actually looked really nice. So this is a different shape. There is no special way to go about it. You can decide to go for any shape you want. Now once you through with that, from the center back on the neckline, I am coming in by half an inch on the neckline and the hem of the blouse. This is going to be our opening for the loop. So 1.5 inch, sorry, is what I came in by, and I am going to go ahead and connect another line close to it and just draw circles around, just to remind us that this is where we are going to have our eyelet for the lacing of this corset. So these other parts here, we are going to be cutting it off. Now for the upper part, you don't need to cut off like 1.5 inch like we did for the body part. Okay, so what you will do here is you determine the neckline. I came in by 6 inches from around the armhole, and I'm coming down by 1.5 inch from the neckline that we already have, and I'm just going to use this to create a curve shape. This is the design that I want for my yoke. Now you can do anything. You can do a V neckline for the yoke. You can do you can leave it as it is right now, depending on you. But for me, I decided to do this curve and just place like holes around the neckline area to show us that you can have hooks or button in that particular part. So this is what we have. Now for the bow channels, you can literally play with it. You can just go ahead and draw down straight lines, just like I've done here. Now, once you're through with this, just go ahead and cut it out just like you see me doing like this. So watch the areas that I'm cutting so that you don't make a mistake when you're cutting out your pieces as well. So this right here is our back pattern, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like I said earlier on the front pieces, you can decide to cut through the bone channels or just leave it like this. I would advise you leave it like this because it's way easier to work with. And then the upper part here is the yoke. So let me just go ahead and just cut through the neckline so that we'll separate the yoke. So guys, this is it. This is our back pieces, the body part, and the yoke. And here we have the front pieces and the back pieces together. And you can see the side of the front and the side of the back, how they align, even though we did not draft them together on the same pattern paper. So we have our bust cup here and then the yoke for the front, and this is what we have. So you can see how nice and clean our front and back pieces are looking. We have our cup, we have our yoke for both the front and the back. So you can decide to make this a transparent corset, you can decide to make it one that has a lining. It all depends on you. But when you draft your patterns onto your fabric, do not forget to add your stitching allowances all the way around. So yeah,